Hey, Shalom Israel. I want to talk to you a little bit about the tongue to toe connection. And you may not realize this, but our tongue is literally connected to our toes. As pictured here in the deep front line, this is a myofascial muscle fascia connection that starts, you can even see way down in the feet, and it goes up through the body. You can actually see the adductor group, the iliacus, the quadratus lumborum, and it goes all the way up to the tongue, way up here. And there's a physical connection between our tongue and our toes. And we think of our tongue as being involved in breathing and chewing and speaking, but there's more and more studies coming out about the relationship, the posture of the tongue, and the strength of the low body, and how it affects the low limb in our posture. It actually can affect our posture and affect our walk. And this is incredible when we consider the spiritual aspects of it as well. But the physical tongue can literally lead to something called an upper cross syndrome or a lower cross syndrome, where the tongue in the wrong position can make our head go forward, our shoulders go forward, our rib cage go forward, our pelvis go forward, our knees to be out of position, even pronation on the foot, and all sorts of distorted gait patterns. So the posture of our tongue can actually influence our gait or our walk. And it's interesting because in the literature, the medical literature, they literally say that the tongue is like a rudder controlling the whole body. And that's exactly what we read in the scripture in James chapter 3. And I like to start in verse 2, where it is written, "We all stumble in many ways. If anyone is never at fault in what he says, he is a perfect man, able to keep his whole body in check. But when we put bits into the mouths of horses to make them obey us, we can turn the whole animal. Or take ships, for example. Although they are so large and driven by strong winds, they are steered by a very small rudder wherever the pilot wants to go. Likewise, the tongue is a small part of the body, but it makes great boasts. Consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark." The tongue is also a fire. And so this little member literally can control our spiritual walk. And as it says, it can set on fire. It's a fire. It could be a fire of destruction, or it could be used for good. And we see in James 3:6, it talks about this tongue is a fire. The question is, are we destroying with our tongue, or are we building up with our tongue? It also continues in James 3:8, and it says, "But no man is able to tame the tongue. It is unruly, evil, filled with deadly poison." Now, we just got done reading, though, a man that can actually control what he says, he can be a perfect man. And then we have this verse says, no man can actually tame the tongue. So we have this kind of back and forth, like, what's going on here? Well, it's interesting because also in Proverbs 18:21, it says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue." So when we consider the scripture, especially even in Acts 2, on the day of Pentecost, when they were supposed to stay there in Jerusalem until they received that power, that dunamis, to become witnesses of Messiah, we see the major part that was affected was these tongues of fire came upon them. So it wasn't by might, but it was by the Spirit that their tongue was able to praise the Almighty. And this is really the key. This is how a natural man can actually start getting his tongue in line with the thought processes of Yah, and also speak the words of Yah and start walking in the instructions of Yah. And it's by the Spirit of the Almighty. And so it's through the Ruach we can actually have a victory even in what we say, and it can direct our path. So this is really important. So we see in Acts 2, that was one of the first things that was really anointed was their mouth. And we also see that this fire can be two-edged in the fact that on Mount Sinai it says those words like came out of the fire, and throughout the scripture it kind of equates the word of Yah like a fire. And at times it can burn things up that need to go, but also it can be quite healing and building up and shine light on things as well. So just like in Isaiah 6, where Isaiah realizes his mouth is unclean, an angel takes a coal and touches his mouth to purify his mouth. So we see that in Acts 8, when Philip it goes to Samaria to do evangel, that they hadn't received the Spirit yet. Now, the interesting backstory to this is that before they send Peter and John to go there and pray for them that the Spirit would come and fall upon them, back in the Gospel, in the book of Luke, chapter 9, we have James and John, the two brothers of thunder, they're passing through Samaria with Messiah, and they're kind of being rejected, and James and John are asking the master, should we call down fire and destroy them? And they get rebuked for doing this. So it's quite ironic that this same kind of area in Acts 8, where Peter and John are going to, they actually lay their hands on them, and the Spirit comes upon these in that area of Samaria. So we have one calling down fire, but we also see them in maturing, and in Acts 8 actually being able to call down the Ruach, and these were also immersed in Acts 8 in the Spirit to also become witnesses. And so this tongue, just like this physical connection, our tongue being connected to our feet, also spiritually, our tongue needs to be transformed by the Ruach. We need to renew our mind. We need to renew our tongue or our words, and it will direct our path. Shalom.